The song is Carl Rodriguez doing a cover of Metallica's Search and Destroy.
By request. Running, on your way hiding, you will be dying, 1,000 deaths. Running, on our way hiding, you will be dying, 1,000 deaths. Oh, seek and destroy. Oh, seek and destroy. I said, yeah, seek and destroy. One more time, yeah, seek and destroy.
Carl Rodriguez is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Wow, welcome to the GMologist, everyone. I have a lot of call-ins to play and respond to, which I think is pretty cool, and from a variety of people. I think 4 different callers, which is kind of neat for me. So on top of that, in this episode, I really need to catch up on the recaps. I know that's like the main focus because I am the geomologist, I guess. The main focus, or maybe I'm the playerologist, probably not. Jason would fail me in that class. That I run and play a lot of games, and it's fun to recap them and give my little impression and anecdotes. So in this particular episode, I'm going to have a few recaps. I'm going to have a recap of the Warhammer Fantasy game that I ran last Thursday. I'm going to have a recap of our Call of Cthulhu game that I run for Jason and his son sporadically. And I'm going to talk about the game that I played on Monday, which was a Pathfinder 2 game set in a sort of Victorian age steampunk / coal-punk fantasy world devised by Kevin Madison of Dungeon Musings. And that game was actually really cool. So I'll talk about those 3 games. And I played some other games this week that I'm going to talk about in my wrap-up of 2021 episode. I'm going to try to put out Friday. This episode I'll try to put out today, so you have a couple days to digest. But I also want to talk about shortly and briefly, the character creation that I did for my future Traveler game. I'd love to run Deep Night Revelation, and there's a prequel to that called the Deep Night Legacy. And I made the crew to the ship's boat, or resupply ship that goes out to where this adventure takes place. So I'll talk about that as well. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it. We open in the midst of a contested skirmish between our heroes and Skaven. Marastra, Ulrich, and Sebastian are locked in melee combat with a heavily armored and very tall Skaven and its minions, while Reginald, just having dispatched a fleeing Skaven, decides what to do. It seems like the heroes got the upper hand pretty quickly. Marastra had been whittling down the Skaven leader. He presses the attack. He is full of momentum, and slowly, a death of 1,000 cuts. Well, halberd strikes, not 1,000, maybe 5 or 6. Eventually take down the leader. Ulrich, also who had been injured a bit, had been injured and had lost momentum against the Skaven, gains the upper hand now that he's doubled up, and slowly wins that melee battle too. Reginald and Sebastian, having seen that 2 Skaven were fleeing towards the horses, run out there, take shots with bow and gun, and get the attention of the Skaven. I think Reginald hit one, so those Skaven come charging back down the hill. and the ghost Brunhild takes a couple shots at the fleeing Skaven that's swimming down the river, killing it. So Marastra finishes his adversary, and as Reginald and Sebastian close with their two foes, Marastra charges in with a mighty swing, decapitates one, and strikes down the other, felling them all. There's a kind of a calmness, though the party has still some work to do. Brunhild leads them to her body. They properly bury it. The druid Gerholt, his name's not Gerholt. The druid, it's a long name with a G. He helps them to do the rites for the deceased, and the ghost sort of seems more at peace and calm. There's less of a fearful aspect. She leads them to where her companions were murdered by Dagmar von Wittgenstein. And they proceed to take apart the rubble and collapse that is there in the tunnel. When there's a man-sized opening, something scrambles out, and they proceed to dispatch a skeleton, first one, then another, and eventually 4 skeletons. They hold the line very well. The skeletons maybe get an attack or 2 in, but with 3 companions holding the line, one of them being Marastra with his mighty halberd, it doesn't take long to dispatch these skeletons. They have a greenish glow infused with warpstone. They are the remains of Brunhild's companions. And they find some treasure. They find some gold. They find a silver flask with some sort of liquid. And they find the last key. They had discovered 5 keys on the undead at the signal tower, or underneath the signal tower, that the dwarves were helping to reconstruct. And now they had the 6th key, and the decision was made to go back. So, it was a good fight. They found some treasure. It seems like a curse is lifted, and with that, Brunhild, as she fades away, gives them a charge to destroy the Wittgensteins, because they have, it is implied, the warp stone that was in the crater. And she presents Sebastian, since he is a bowman, with her ghostly bow. So, he gets a cool magic item. I think I made it that it gives a bonus to hit with bowmanship or ballistic skill, I guess, of using a bow. And then I think I decided on fellowship level times per day. It can fire a ghostly arrow, which will ignore any armor of an adversary and do the full damage. So it would only take toughness off, right? So it's good fight. Got our adrenaline pumping to continue on. So then they decided they knew it was going to take like about 3 days to get back to the inn and the locks at the conjunction of the rivers where they left their boat, the Endeavor, and so they go that way, and then they have a feeling that they're being followed. They can't quite place who it is. There's not as much chaos attacking them and going after them as there was on the way up. It seems that there's a respite from the attacks of the Chaos Gods, or the eye of the Chaos Gods upon them. However, they do find on the second day actually, a day out from the inn of the something waterfall near the town of Unterbaum. They come across a camp, and the camp is still disturbed. The coals are still warm. There's 2 tracks. There's that Marastra finds. He finds tracks of horses going sort of east, and tracks of people on foot going
southeast, back towards the inn. So they track the southeast. There's more. They're on foot. They could get them. So they catch up with them. They find out that it's a band of mutants with one robed person sort of leading them, and they decide to ambush them. Marastra actually canters his horse, not canter, walks his horse around to their flank. They do this exceedingly well with some fantastic die rolls. So they get the ambush off. Bow shots, gunshots, a cavalry charge by Marastra, who cuts down the rogue figure. A couple of these mutants are injured pretty badly, and the players join the melee. I don't recall anyone being very dramatically injured. I know Fang got to pull down a mutant who was fighting one of the players. Maybe Reginald got injured. An odd occurrence for the duelist to get ganged up on and a little slightly overwhelmed. But with Marastra riding around on his horse and cutting things down with his hammer, or blasting things with his hammer, I guess. The fight was quick. They had overheard, and they did discover that the man in robes was also a mutant with bestial legs, goat-like legs, and had a scroll, which they destroyed, of course. They hating chaos, the characters, and they kind of overheard that they were going to go to the inn and cause some havoc and try to await and ambush the players as they returned. Some curious clues. Reginald smelled a perfume at the camp, but he did not smell it on these stinky mutants. So they now have an idea that there might be someone of means leading these people, but those people weren't there. And Marastra continues to have this dream or vision of someone looking over him. He's able to push away the fatigue that it might involve, but he still can't get a face on who is staring at him in his dreams. So pretty curious. They got back to the inn, and they're going to head back to Kemperband, and they've already decided to go to the signal tower and deal with what is below there with their last key. So we'll see how that goes. A very good session, a lot of action. So, 2 skirmishes in the session, and it's a really good game. I guess we're not playing until next year. Next Thursday, I guess it would be the 5th, maybe. It's actually the 6th, and we'll be playing again this ongoing campaign. I should have given a spoiler warning ahead of time. We are playing through The Enemy Within. We're on Death on the Reich, the second book. But I would say that the players, and the cool thing about these adventures is that there are some clues that the players and leads that the players can pursue, but they actually took a turn. They decided that helping the dwarves was important. Finding what was below the signal tower was important. Following the map that they found in the signal tower was more important than traveling down to Grissenwald and finding this strange, following this cryptic message of a strange ally in Grissenwald of the Purple Hand folks. So they maybe cut some of the adventure out by taking this left turn at Kemperband, but now I guess we'll be quote-unquote back on track. I think they want to deal with the signal tower, then deal with the Wittgensteins, and that'll probably conclude the adventure. We're about 3/4 of the way through, I would say, and I think after that we're going to take, I do have Power Behind the Throne in print already, but I think we might take a little break from the campaign and do a little palate cleanser. That's what one of the players called it. The player who plays Reginald called it a palate cleanser. And we'll probably he wanted to play straight D&D with dragons and dungeons and haunted houses. So I think I settled on Ghost of Saltmarsh. I know one player's like, oh, you can use Ghost of Saltmarsh to get into Ravenloft. We'll see. I mean, I think if we want to play traditional D&D, then diving into Ravenloft is not quite that. So yeah, that was Warhammer Fantasy role playing, the fourth edition, and we're playing through the Enemy Within campaign. It's very interesting how much we can get done in person compared to online. I mean, I do enjoy my online play, don't get me wrong. I play with people all over the world. It's great, but it's hard to beat live play, right? So yeah, that was it. That's the session recap. Sunday morning, I got to run a Call of Cthulhu game, and this is our sporadic, no schedule set game that I run for Jason Connerly and his son. And the last adventure we started, the theme is kind of that Innsmouth look. It's a theme for my quote unquote campaign. We'll see if this continues or how it goes. But this adventure that we're running is called The Inheritance. It is in the Escape from Innsmouth product by Chaosium, written by Kevin Ross and friends. So there are spoilers ahead. If you want a less spoiler free recount of this episode, you can go to Jason Connerly episode 301. He talks about it a bit. So the investigator has his house. In the last episode, they had traveled to Innsmouth. They had picked up a reporter that they had met in a previous adventure, and Elsie, I think her last name, what is her last name? I can't remember. It is Elsie Caldwell. She is from Ipswich nearby, and actually was kind of what got him into this interest in Innsmouth in the area in the previous adventure, the Spaceman or something like that. So they go to Ipswich. They met up with her. She'd driven them out there. They had done all the legal and right things and gone to get the keys. They didn't break in. They investigated the house, found some interesting diaries that gleaned more information on the weird stuff that goes on in Innsmouth, and something escaped from the attic. So they had gone the next day, beating the swamp. It was not successful. Eventually, they got out of the swamp and arrived at the house of a Nick Casper, who's sort of a hunter in the area, has nothing to do with Innsmouth, would rather not have anything to do with Innsmouth, but the investigators plead with him to help them find this creature in the swamp. So he agrees, and they set up to come back the next day and help or do that, or let Casper help them. They go back into town, buy some supplies, drive by the ornate church row in the town. So the rest of the town is run down, but the churches look really nice, interesting. And then they wait till morning. The investigator who inherited the house, played by Jason's son, Wyatt Dreyfus, that's the name of the investigator, has a weird dream, and it's very disturbing. And it seems like it's a slow. This kind of adventure is a slow burn. It suggests, or it is up to the player and the GM, whether it is unclear the actual blood lineage of the investigator, and it is up to the player and the GM to decide if he actually has sort of that Innsmouth blood through his great grandmother. So we kind of have left it unclear. Excuse me. And Jason's son is cool with that. We'll kind of figure it out as we go along, he said. So we will figure it out as we go along. So in this time, this was it seemed short, but it kind of a lot happened. They did go to Casper's house. They drove out there, and then they kind of beat through the Great Innsmouth Salt Marsh for a while. They found some tracks. They found that the tracks led to this trash heap, and there was definitely some activity with some bones being piled oddly, neatly, and uniformly. They continued tracking, and they found out from some of the locals that something was stealing their chickens. So the characters kind of are like, "Oh, this is not good. It's probably going to escalate. This creature's eating more and more." But fortunately, well, in the adventure, the creature was watching them, and they saw it. They got some really good rolls, and they saw it. They saw something scare a fox out of the reeds. Unfortunate for that poor stalker. And then Jason's character Randolph West got a glimpse of it, and he took a shot with the shotgun. It seems like he injured it somewhat, and uh, Elsie Codwell had shot at the fox and totally missed, but then shot at this creature that was fleeing and hit it, and then they were able to track it once Casper and Dreyfus, who were talking to the locals, heard the shots and joined them. They tracked it to this kind of bridge over the road north out of Innsmouth, and Randolph West volunteers to go in there and deal with the creature. The creature jumps out at him, and he shoots it. It was a really good roll by Jason. He blasts it as it jumps at him, killing it. And there was some fear from the investigators and some sanity checks, but they maintained their cool, except for Wyatt Dreyfus, and he kind of blacked out. I don't know, probably a combination of the dream, what he had read, this whole idea that he is an inheritor of property in this weird town of Innsmouth, and he kind of blacks out. He maybe sees a resemblance in this creature from the attic. I don't know. Hard to say. They wait for Nick Casper to go get his truck to get the creature, and there's a weird incident where there's these policemen on the bridge, but all the investigators hide, and the policemen leave. They don't see anything untoward. They're probably responding to, shots about a half mile outside of town. It's probably like 3 or 4 shots, right? So they investigate it, don't see anything. Probably assume it's hunters hunting in the swamp, and they go back to town. So nothing weird happened there. They put the body in the back of the truck and haul it back to Nick Casper, who lets him use his breakdown shed, where he probably breaks down carcasses of animals that he hunts. And that's where Wyatt Dreyfus proceeds to go even more insane, or head down in that downward spiral towards insanity as he dissects this creature. He learns a lot, but maybe at the expense of his mind and sanity. So, they decide to leave Innsmouth for now. They go back to town, and they tell this is the next day after getting cleaned up and resting, thinking about the events of the previous day. They go back to the Roland Marsh, the lawyer, who's kind of let Wyatt Dreyfus know about this place and say their goodbyes. Roland asks some questions about meeting some of the locals, which they deny, and they say, "Yeah, we'll be in touch." And they take off, very disturbed, very interested, and very confused as to what their Crawford inheritance means, both the physical thing and, the thing inside them. So it was a really good session. I think the next time, where since they've lost some sanity, and there's this idea that if you lose too much sanity, you're going to go indefinitely insane. So they're going to go get some help. And I have an idea in mind to get them together with my wife's character, Kay Cocaine, who is based in Arkham. There's an asylum there, and they're known for their use of psychotherapy. So maybe these guys will be patients of Kay Cocaine, which I think would be kind of a neat way to blend these two disparate campaign ideas together. We'll see. It was a fun game. These guys are always fun to play with, and I'm glad we were able to get one of these done during the holidays. Last Wednesday, we were unable to meet for our Pathfinder 2 ongoing Abomination Vaults game, but I wanted to do something gaming related, so I decided to make traveler characters, for an upcoming one of these days one shot of the Deep Night Legacy Adventure, which is a prequel to the epic Great Rift spanning and beyond exploration campaign, Deep Night Revelation. And the characters are the skeleton crew, really, of Rift Hauler 4A4. And they're being sent to
somewhere deep in the rift, reference point XF1402, and they operate out of Uantil subsector in Corridor, but also make jaunts across into Vlan sector, the subsector being Lakali Career and based around Giikur. Um, so, yeah, that's what I decided to do. And I think it came out pretty well. I have a very interesting character. I will introduce them as best I can. Um, the first one I have here, I'm just doing alphabetical order on the Roll20. I set up the game in the Roll20, is Iniri Ganimakur. And I generated all these names, kind of like how Roll20 puts up random names, and I can just kind of tweak them a little to make them more phonetically appealing for the Travelerverse. Iniri has an interesting backstory. He is nominally the engineer's assistant, but his history, and that's what I kind of did. Oh, I should note how I made these characters. Hold on a second, let me get the exact information. Character generation is done through a fan site, munsundev.com/caregen/. I will put the link in the show notes. And what's cool is that you put in your name, which I would have generated from Roll20, and then when you continue, you can select the species that are from the Mongoose Traveler Second Edition book, Aslan, Human, and Vargur. Once you do that, then it'll roll your 2d6 times 6 for characteristics. You select those, and then it goes through the character generation process, rolling randomly here and there when needed. There are some options that the player character will select, for example, like which career list or which list they're going to roll on for career skills or whatever. So this guy went 5 terms, and it looks like he started as a noble, but probably is on the run because there was an assassination attempt on him. So it looks really interesting. That's Iniri. If you want to play a noble on the run, that's the one to play. The next character I have here on the list is the Astrogator, or Lerber Slow Kurgroff. He or maybe she is a Vargur, and she is listed as the Astrogator, but also has an interesting past. She tried to get into the university, but then became a drifter when failed to graduate from university, and has gained some skills such that, well, she or he can pass as an Astrogator. So I think that's a pretty cool. If you want to play a Vargur with a mysterious past, Lerblur Slow is the one for you. The next is our pilot, Omil Sados. And Omil, he was a scout. So he did some terms in the scout service, was a surveyor and an explorer. So this is kind of his wheelhouse. This is what he loves to do, and enjoys doing this Great Rift type service because it is new and exciting. You never know what's out there. Next is our captain, Osar Ido. And Osar, he failed to get into the university, but then he joined the Merchant Marines and had a very successful career, 5 terms in the Merchant Marines, rising to the level of merchant. So he is the captain and in charge of this Rift Hauler, probably works for the company that does the service, and has recruited these players in an emergency for resupplying that point out in the Great Rift. So lastly, we have Rijul Chambers, and Rijul is our engineer. I guess probably Rijul, if you pronounce it in the Volani. And Rijul is ex-Navy. He's had a really good career in the Navy. Looks like he has 2 terms in the Navy. He's pretty young, or maybe 3 terms. Looks like 3 terms in the Navy. Yeah, looks like 3 terms. I gotta update that in the Roll20. I did put all the character histories in the Roll20 so someone could follow along and see what they got and what they did, and kind of generate their own history based on these roles. It's
gives you an outline or a skeleton, but not all the details, and you can fill in the gaps, which I think is a kind of a neat way to do this. So that's Ree Usual. He is an ex-Navy engineer. So it's a crew of 5. I think that's pretty good. I guess if I run this game with less, these people will be NPCs, or maybe players can take on the role of more than one PC, which I think would be kind of neat. So I would love to get this to the table. I'll probably talk about that more on my New Year's Eve episode, um, the state of the Geomologist Lab, or whatever, something like that. That's what I have in mind, and what I would love to play or plan to play, or let's tackle that big list that we have somewhere on my Discord and see what lies ahead for 2022. But that's Traveler character creation. I thought it was really fun to do. I really like the character gen developer. I kind of had the book as a reference, so I could be informed on what decisions I could make with regards to skill trees or whatever, or consequences of my decisions, and to look up the exact things that might might come up. Like some, I mean, it's a skeleton of a character generator, so you have to go to the book to look up like what this particular life event or career event is. So pretty cool. I really enjoyed the character creation for Traveler. The last game I'm going to talk about is a game I played run by Kevin Madison of the Dungeon Musings Media Empire. And the title of the game is called The Spires of Paradar, The Untimely Death of Major Fitzhugh. And we used the Pathfinder 2E system, but he set it in a world that is much like our own, circa late 19th century, so Victorian era, maybe like Castle Falkenstein, Disillusion, games like that, sort of steampunk vibe. There's constructs, etc. But what something Kevin said is we're not playing steampunk, we're playing coal punk. We're playing kind of the down and dirty, not the high, aristocratic adventurers, but these guys are down in the trenches with the people, I guess, with the, we don't live we're not rich, I guess, we're not aristocrats. And it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed the setting, and I definitely want to hear more about it. I don't know if Kevin has anything written down or whatever, but I do like the vibe and the setting. And it's kind of cool that you can use Pathfinder 2 for a game that's not necessarily medieval Renaissance fantasy, right? So we have 3 characters that played. I'll go with my character first. I play Hannibal Ducard. And Hannibal Ducard is a Dhampir gunslinger. Who's saved by the clockwork. So he has a clockwork arm, actually. He's an old war veteran. Kevin never specified which wars we were talking about, but maybe the wars during the Victorian era. There's plenty of them. And he is a veteran of some conflict on some Earth-like planet, medieval planet, where there was a lot of veterans. And he's a Dhampir because he was saved by this miraculous drug called the serum. They actually call it the vampiric serum, and he was reanimated. So he had died in the war and was reanimated. And so since the end of the war, this widespread use of the same serum has left the large communities of war veterans and the desperate poor afflicted as Dhampirs. So that's kind of a thing in Kevin's world. And the contacts he maintains in both help him in his job as troubleshooting investigator, monster hunter, etc. So he's a sort of a wisecracking, gunslinging swashbuckler with a tragic past. And he was joined by 2 other players, and they played a character named Dr. Adam Ersprung, who is more or less a Frankenstein monster, a flesh-warped inventor, and he has like a construct named Igor. He is a doctor in a sort of bad part of town. And lastly, the other player played a character named Basil Rathbone, who is like Basil, the mouse rat detective, the great mouse or rat detective, and he is an Isoki. So Isoki are around in this world, and it's kind of cool. You could do that. I guess I don't know. I guess it might be in Pathfinder. Maybe they're an uncommon ancestry in Pathfinder. I know they're in Starfinder, so it's pretty cool. That's the crew, and we didn't meet up all at once. We didn't meet up. We didn't quite know each other. Well, Hannibal works for Basil. He's like his muscle in the Shadow Illuminations detective agency. We're also called the Illuminators. Another character coined that phrase. So we start the game with a view onto a street in a not so great part of Paradar, which you can imagine is late 19th century Victorian London. The Ninth Paradin Medical Corps horseless carriages driving, and in this opening scene, urchins they kind of stop this carriage, mill around the people in charge of it, and they set him up a constable, and they steal this whatever is in this carriage, which we later learned is vampire serum. After they stab him, he's able to get a shot off. Apparently, he hits one of them because the scene cuts to a more humble street scene, and we're on like a Victorian sales floor in a humble part of town. A lot of folks are waiting for a doctor. A man comes running in, calling for the doctor, and here we meet Dr. Erspring with a clockwork nurse tending to a patient. The desperate father is a child of about 7. He's been burned from head to toe, but burning is almost exclusively on his skin and is not on his clothing. And Dr. Ersprung has folks leave to assess and tend to the child. And he realizes the child is shot, but then an attempt to heal him with divine power has burned him. And he realizes that this child has been shot as a Dhampir. In the lobby, he treats the boy. The boy is in a bad way, in a coma more or less, but he saves him. In the lobby, we meet the parents and a priest. The priest is apologetic. He seems like a nobleman named Father Tilcott. The boy's name is Tom. And the incident where Tom was shot is the opening scene that Kevin shared with us. A friend of him brought him in. They took him to the priest to heal. The priest, Father Tilcott, he works with the poor as well. And he tries to heal him, but realizes his mistake, and they fortunately are able to get him to Dr. Adam Ersprung. Well, Father Tilcott and Adam knows who we are. He might not have met us, but he knows that there is someone who might be able to investigate this. So they hire us, the Illuminators, the Shadow Illuminations. When we hear the tale, I think of someone named the Ghoul Father, who hires a lot of children. If you think of Fagin from Oliver Twist, was it? Yeah, from Oliver Twist. But I don't know. Fagin is a veteran also. Why would he? I'm not sure he's infecting the children, but maybe things have changed. Tilbert mentions Sam Mills. We learned that Annabelle Carrington wrote the article. We know about the article of this opening scene. Basil has a contact, a captain at the Constabulary, and Odie Withers. Ersprung also has a contact, Dr. Abraham Raycroft. So Tilbert pays us a good amount of money, 150 gold crowns. Apparently 175 is like how much we might make as a first level adventurer. So yeah, so we split up. And this is a cool thing about, so mechanically what we did is go into exploration mode. So we split up and we try to use our skills to try to get some of this information as part of this investigation. Maybe it's called investigation mode as well somewhere. But so I go to the Legion. Carrington's there. We actually try to go find Annabelle Carrington at the paper she works for. She is not there, and that's when we decide to split up, and we'll meet later back at the King's Head Inn. There are a lot of King's Head Inns everywhere, right? So I go to the Legion. Carrington's there. I learned about the silhouette of a bird of prey with missing markings. We learn later that this is the Nighthawk's badge given to the 4th Paradin Recon Corps in the war. There are recon and special ops units. These markings are found at the scene of a series of burglaries and muggings involving children. Basil, when he meets with Odie Withers, the 4th Recon group comes up again, the Nighthawk's badge, And early on, um, these folks received this, and then uh, as part of all these robberies, but the police don't want this to get out. They don't want any more headlines, such as the robbery of this vampiric serum. I think Adam Ersprung finds out the most interesting information, I think, for me as a sort of a conspiracy theorist, and I want to learn everything I can when I play. And he meets with Roycroft. So apparently, these early experiments with the vampiric serum, this vampiric serum was probably taken from an actual vampire, and it created vampires. So the first generation of serum are supposedly dead, but if one or maybe more survive, they might be able to take control of those under the serum. So even with the war over, we learned that Parliament seems to be keen on maintaining a stockpile of this, which is also interesting if you're thinking about the bigger picture and conspiracy. So we meet back at the King's Head, uh, and we learned that this member of the Fourth Recon um, might be a Major Garrett Fitzhume. So after that, uh, we go down to track the Ghoulfather, and again we do like an exploration. We use various skills from occult to streetwise and stealth to find out where he has, and we do find out in fact that Fitzhugh has taken the kids, and the Ghoulfather knows where he is. He resides in Yarley Tower. So we go to the tower, and Clovis Potter, the Ghoulfather, calls for his children. He sacrifices himself as he calls for the children, and we see him being overwhelmed and pulled down by these now vampiric, more feral street urchins. So, with holy symbols and silver bullets, we make our assault. Well, it was a crazy fight. I mean, a bunch of first level characters fighting a vampire is no small feat. Maybe it was a vampire spawn and not a true vampire, but it was messed up. Hannibal got taken over at least for a round or two. I made, we have hero points right as part of the game, and yeah, we burned them. We were burning them left and right to. For me, for example, my character to prevent being taken over, I was actually taken over with one round, and I do slice or shoot the father who damages me and the vampire with his holy power. Right, that's one of the disadvantages of being a Dhampir is you get damaged by positive energy. So like a turn undead type of thing, or what's done in Pathfinder rules, it does like positive damage in a radius sort of radius. So well, we survive. Uh, we get some. I don't know. We do. Part of it is like the father, the NPC that's with us, the cleric. He does a good job of damaging uh, the creature. This what has become or what used to be Major Garrett Fitzhume. I don't know. I get some good shots in. I think Basil uses he has this ability to give us bonuses and find the weakness, and he does really well. Um, a kind of a cool thing that Doctor Earthsprung, the 7 foot tall Doctor Frankenstein monster looking doctor, he pushes the vampire back. He gives us some room, and we're able to shoot. I don't think I ever get a stab in. Not that it matters. The silver bullets are what are important. So I'm able to shoot him and take him down with a silver bullet. And that was kind of the end of the session. We have like a montage about what happens. We're offered 25 more gold to keep things silent. Miss Carrington, although we gave her an exclusive, is not so much pleased that she has to publish a redacted version of what had happened. I share that maybe I should have taken some vampire juice to make me more powerful, but we do find out, at least as an epilogue, that Dr. Earthsprung did take a vial of that serum. And then to mess with me, Basil sends a box of chocolates and sweets to Odie's secretary, Miss Worthington, because he feels that Hannibal Ducard is a bit lonely as a Dhampir. Ducard, I didn't get to share this. Ducard probably might have his sights on Annabelle Carrington. He knows he would never have a chance, but why not? Why not be? I don't know. I don't know what I would want to do this character, but I really enjoyed playing him with him, using him, and Dhampirs are kind of cool. Maybe I might have to do that in my next Pathfinder game, or at least I'm more amenable to letting someone play a Dhampir. But I like the setting. It'd be cool to play a Dhampir in this kind of setting. It just seems this kind of cold punk, Victorian era. So there you go. It's a really fun game. Great use of the Pathfinder 2E rules. I've always liked, and I still contend that Pathfinder has one of the coolest action economies in combat. Combat was quick, deadly, dynamic, against a freaking vampire who is leaping at us from heights and ripping us apart. I think all of us got jacked up pretty good. I think Basil actually was taken down for a little bit until he was healed by the priest. So yeah, it was crazy. It was a really neat combat and a really neat, concise tale that we were able to do in like one session. So we're gonna play. I'm gonna get to play this character again Sunday, January 2nd. I think a lot more people are playing, so we'll see what Shadow Illuminations gets themselves into this next time. But that's it. The untimely undeath of Major Fitzhugh.
Get to the chopper!
And now for some call-ins. We have call-ins from Amy, Joe, Jason, and a first-time caller, Shay Webster.
Hey, Carl. I was just calling in. I guess this will be my last call-in of the year to say that I'll be excited for all of us to be back in the new year and hitting Krakow hard. Well, I guess that wasn't my last call of the year. I forgot to mention that I'm excited to see what will happen with Kiko in this up-and-coming year because it seems as though she might get a new patient and a new fun side job from her mental hospital job. And it looks like Kasha is starting on her master plan, although not to take over the whole world, just Krakow right now. And she's looking forward to, seeing if she can't find the mom for the kids, getting Sam situated on the farm, taking down the marauders. She has a big to-do list. And on top of that, we've got Sam roaming around out there in the Old West, and she's really looking forward to completing her carriage. Anyways, Happy New Year.
That's Amy giving a rundown of plans for her characters in the future. So Amy plays right now in 3 games. I guess we've been running sort of this one-on-one with her in Call of Cthulhu with her character Keiko Kane, who is a physician, psychotherapist, psychiatrist that works at Arkham Asylum in Arkham, Massachusetts, not the DC Arkham Asylum. Well, that'd be a very interesting crossover. And her character Kasha, who is well known. In fact, she was referenced in a game that I played recently that I'll talk about in the next episode, when there was a prisoner we had captured, someone in the group who plays with Amy in the Twilight 2000 game said, "Hey, let's bring Amy in so Kasha can interrogate this person," which I thought was kind of funny. So, yeah, and Sam is the Deadlands character that Amy plays, the agent, and they're in the middle of an investigation. And yeah, she has a plan to make her stagecoach horseless and make it like a horseless carriage, maybe with that missing ghost rock that they've heard about. So yeah, our next call is from Joe Richter.
Yo, Carl, yeah, so A Christmas Story is also my favorite Christmas movie, although this year is the first year in as long as I can remember where I haven't actually watched it. We haven't been watching much TV while we've been down here. I missed the 24-hour marathon of it during, from Christmas Eve to Christmas, and yeah, so that's kind of a bummer. I had no idea that there were sequels, and I'm fine with that. I will skip those for sure. And then the whole Die Hard debate, it's so weird to me, and I'm not saying Jason said this or anything, but it's weird to me that there are people out there that try and say Die Hard is not a Christmas movie when it clearly is. It's set on Christmas Day. It's about Christmas. The entire soundtrack is Christmas music. I mean, it is absolutely a Christmas movie, so I don't know. I don't know why people are weird. Anyway, man, I hope you're having a good one. Peace out.
Well, Jason has some more to say about A Christmas Story. And I guess I should clarify. So I did say or send a message to Jason on his podcast that said Die Hard was the quintessential Christmas movie. And I think the word "the" is the problem. I should have said it is a quintessential Christmas movie for all the points that you outlined, Joe. It is a perfect example of a Christmas movie for our modern sensibility, but it might not be the best movie for Christmas. And maybe since Claire said I use the article "the" instead of "a," um, that was made to seem or sound like an absolute. So here is what Jason thinks about A Christmas Story.
Hey Carl, Jason here. So, sorry about giving you a hard time about Die Hard. Die Hard definitely is a classic and it's a fun movie. And there's a lot of neat stuff in there. As far as A Christmas Story, yeah, that's a strong contender. There's no question about it. Christmas Story is a tradition for many of us, to grow up and watch every year. And so, yeah, I would agree with you. Christmas Story is one of the greats. I think I've seen one of the sequels. I don't really remember. I don't really revisit those. We do have A Christmas Story on DVD. And, of course, was it TBS or TNT? One of the channels plays it for 24 hours every year. At least they used to. But, yeah, the original is definitely classic. I've never read any of that author's other stuff, though. His, the stories it's based on or whatnot. Maybe I should check those out. I'd be curious to see how, his other tales. So, anyhow, take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon.
I want an official Red Ryder Carbine Action 200 range ball air rifle.
No. Shoot your eye out.
By the way, in your latest episode, you made a reference to The Witcher. Have you watched the second season? If so, what do you think? It's being trashed by the fans of the books, kind of like Cowboy Bebop was being trashed, although Witcher Season 2 is being trashed because it's too different from the books, where Cowboy Bebop, they said it was too close to the anime, so I guess you can't win either way. I thought Season 2 of The Witcher was okay. It was fine. It drug a little bit here or there for me, but I think it could have been condensed, a little bit shorter story arc. But it was fine. I want to say there are more monsters in Season 2 than Season 1. That was one of my complaints about Season 1 is it was not all, but there's a lot of politics and not so much monster hunting, where there's more monster hunting in Season 2, so that's a good thing. Anyhow, just curious.
I have not seen Season 2 of The Witcher. In fact, I'm still on Season 1. I think the last episode I watched was the Flip a Coin to Witcher episode. So, yeah, I'm behind on it. I have the book, in my Amazon cart somewhere saved for later, but I haven't really gotten into it. And I don't know, this deplatforming that people who are good at getting on social media and just blasting out emails, and I guess I have a lot of followers, and they say, "Oh, this thing sucks, therefore it sucks." I don't know. It's not good for a lot of reasons, right? So, I enjoyed the Cowboy Bebop live action for what it was worth, and I would love to have seen another season to see what they do, especially because it's kind of cool. Cartoons are one thing, is one thing, but man, to be able to pull off those special effects of those ships and stuff like that is neat to me, because I love sci-fi. But alas, we are not going to see it because of people. Like I said, I don't know about The Witcher, and who cares if it diverges from the books, man? It's a different form of media. It is inspired by the media that you read or that they're adapting a screenplay. That's why it's called adaptive screenplay. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's one of the symptoms of the society that we live in.
Also, Carl, if I didn't express it well enough last night because I was in a hurry to get to bed, we were past my bedtime, thank you so much for playing in my Ninja City game. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you were there. I know it was a little bit hectic and unorganized, and then the ending was a little bit rushed. It should have been a little bit longer slot, or I guess we probably should have made characters ahead of time. If we had made characters ahead of time, we would have shaved half an hour off, and we wouldn't have been rushed at the end. So it's a fault on me. But thank you for playing. It was a real fun game. You brought a lot to the table. Everybody had really good ideas. We had some great play. And, yeah, I think it was a success, even considering the DM. So, again, thank you very much.
I'm not going to talk about Ninja City in this episode. This episode is running close to an hour already, and I have one more important call-in to give the last word. But you can, if you want to hear about an incredibly good recap of Ninja City and what we did, in Jason Connerly's 301 end of the year call-in extravaganza. He gives a recap of our DCC Ninja City game, and I'll talk about it on the last one, my end of the year extravaganza. Um, I'll talk about Ninja City then. If I have anything to add, honestly, I don't know if I do have anything to add from the player's point of view. I think he gave a very good summary and recap of that particular session. And I guess the only thing I would have to add is that we did have fun with our dojo name, the skipped tab. And when we strung up or turned in these people, turned them into the FBI, I think we put a little calling card that said, this person didn't pay their tab. So that was kind of some fun little thing we did to double down on the Skip Tab Dojo.
Hey Carl, it's Jay from Roleplay Rescue. Just wanted to thank you so much for your episode in which you gave very kind words about the game we played together. The Serene Dawn game set in the Third Imperium, the Traveller universe, and we played using GURPS, of course. Thank you so much. It was great to hear that you found yourself immersed in character and really excited about your character, which is great. You made a kind of point in there that I had built a character for you, but I think what you meant was that I had built the character like mechanically for you using the GURPS rules. Because, of course, that back and forth conversation we had was you kind of conceptualizing this journalist that you wanted to have. But yes, absolutely, I very much brought my own spin to him as I built him for you. But absolutely, he's your character. So I just wanted to say, man, that thank you for playing, and that Ronaldo was awesome. And, Ronaldo writes is all you, man. Game on.
Well, the praise is well deserved, Shay. Thank you for the call in. Thanks for calling in the show. I know you're very busy and got your own show and all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to our next Traveller game because I'm really liking the game, and it's Traveller, of course, something I've wanted to play for a while, but I think everyone, GM included, brings so much to the table, and the group really, I felt, gelled and had a lot of personality and character that melded very well. So, and that is kind of kudos to the GM, right, for bringing all that together. So, again, praise is well deserved. Looking forward to the next game. Thanks for the call in. And I think, guess what, man? You get the last word. And this really long show that much longer than I had anticipated. It's close to an hour. But we had a lot of call-ins and I had a lot of cool games, and I wanted to highlight all the neat things that have happened to me in gaming during the week. So thank you so much for all the call-ins, Amy, Joe, Jason, and Shay. Thanks to my players. Thanks to my listeners. Thank you, TJ Drennan, for the music. And I'll talk to you next time.